Three key points when you're learning to ride a motorcycle are keep calm and buffer. Ooh, doubling up. That's a nice smell. Ooh, I love it. Come on, dude. Didn't know that guy. Yeah, man, I love that feeling of riding a motorcycle. So good. Hey, how you going? Hope you're good. Three key points when you're learning to ride a motorcycle: where, how, and why. Or in other words, the location, the controls, and improvement. So in the interest of keeping the video short, I'm just going to dive into these briefly as an overview, and then I'll do videos on each one in depth. The great thing to do when you're starting out is a course, like a learner course, pre-learner course, that kind of thing, towards getting your L's over here. In the States, I think it's MSF. They got courses, CBT in the UK, basically anywhere in the world. You know, it's good to do a course, even if you don't have to do a course as part of learning to ride a bike and getting your license and stuff. It's a good idea. They got a lot of knowledge. They got a safe place to learn how to ride, that kind of thing. Again, I could go into that in more detail, and I probably will in another video. So point number one is where, or in other words, your location. So where's a good place when you're learning to ride? So if you're fortunate, you might have a, or unfortunate, you might have a super long driveway, or you might live on a dead-end street. So the advantages to that are that it's nice and quiet. So almost as if I planned it, here is a dead-end street. So dead-end street, as you can see, no through road. So it's nice and quiet. Well, like I said, you might have a super long driveway. Your neighbors are going to know who you are, unlike me. They're going to be looking at me going, who's this guy? Anyway, so yeah, super quiet, dead-end street. It's a good place to practice. So you can come to a stop, you know, first gear, and then you can just practice pulling off nice and slow. You don't have to worry about people being behind you, that kind of thing. You know, it's just a nice, quiet environment to do your thing. The downside is, though, you run out of room. So that means you've got to do a U-turn, which in the beginning is probably going to be one of the trickier things to do. Like here, it's nice and gravelly as well. Pull the clutch in, ease it around, so you can just practice taking off nice and slow, and just keep doing that. You can come to a stop again. Don't have to worry too much about people being around, cars coming up behind you, that kind of thing. Nice and gentle, super slow, just getting used to starting the bike and then bringing it to a stop, off the gas, clutch in, brake, feet down or foot down, bit of gas, letting the clutch out. Now it's biting, we're moving forwards, letting that clutch out, and there we go, up and running. So it's nice and quiet. So this could be your driveway from your mansion or your mountain lodge or your tent in the middle of nowhere, who knows. The downside of a driveway or a dead-end street is that eventually you run out of space, and then you got to do a U-turn, which in the beginning is one of the trickier things you're going to have to practice and get good at if you want to get your provisional license. So they're nice and slow. So if that's not going to cut it, where else? A classic one that people talk about a lot is a car park. Nice big car park, the bigger the better. Basically, it means that you don't have to do those U-turns like I was talking about. You can just do nice turns, nice smooth turns. Keep doing your thing. But the problem is getting there. So how are you going to get to a car park? There might not be one near you, so you got to get there first. So maybe you got a buddy and they're like, you know what, I'll take you there, jump on the back. Hey, how are you going? Hope you're good. 3 key points when you're learning to ride a motorcycle: where, how, and why. A classic one that people talk about a lot is a car park. Nice big car park, the bigger the better. Basically, it means that you don't have to do those U-turns like I was talking about. You can just do nice turns, nice smooth turns. The downside of car park is you got to get there, and chances are they're not going to be near your place. So nearest one to here is the airport. I'm fortunate that the airport is close by, so that's somewhere I looked on the map, and it looked like it had some pretty decent sized car parks. So let's go have a look. So your buddy says, yeah, jump on the back, I'll take you to a car park and we can have a practice. Busy. So here we go. So just trying to get to the car park. Imagine this was your first time riding a bike and you got to come to 100 stretch and think, I need a good spot. So here we go. Here's the military base with the Civi airport attached, civilian airport. So let's go have a look. I have been here before, but to catch a flight, so I was looking for somewhere to park, not really worried about the overall size of the car park. So let's go up a look. So here we go. So we gotta find somewhere quiet. So first thing is we've got some boom gates. Looks like some parking wardens. Maybe. Short stay. This sucks. That one looks pretty busy as well, so imagine if you were trying to just find somewhere to ride the bike for the first time. this would be pretty hard going. Got to figure out where to go, not get hit, not hit anyone, not fall over. Bro, this sucks. I think I'm gonna call this a bust. Well, it forces you to practice your slow speed maneuvers, which is great. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be negotiating this right at the start when I was just trying to figure out where to ride. But maybe you know somewhere nearby where you live, I don't know, community center or church or something like that. It's maybe a bit quieter. Let's have a look around here. Where's this dude going? Obviously, bad time of day because it's busy, but it's an airport, so I'm pretty sure it'd be kind of busy during the night as well, because people are leaving their cars and then going off, so abroad to nice places or whatever. Just try not to mow this person over. Okay, so there's no boom gate on that one. It's super busy. What have we got here? Boom gates. We could sneak through there maybe on a quiet evening. Long stay. Ooh, look at this road. This looks like dog's breakfast. That would be good if it wasn't full of gravel. Oh well, let's see what's down here. Okay, so we're calling the airport a bust, but you might have better luck where you are. You might have a nice quiet car park with loads of space. It doesn't have to be huge, just somewhere where you don't have to keep doing U-turns all the time. You can just cruise around. There's plenty of videos online set in big car parks, so you've got lots of space, and you don't have people around that you have to worry about, people coming up the back of you, that kind of thing. So yeah, let's head off to my preferred location, which is local streets or a housing estate, that kind of thing. So yeah, local streets are always good. Even better as a housing estate. And the reason for that is, the reason why I like them is because you get a real world environment. So you do have cars around, you know, dogs running out, kids playing, that kind of stuff. So it does feel a bit more like a real world environment. So that's going to push your skills. It's not going to be as full on as just riding in open traffic. Normally, as long as you avoid kind of everyone heading to work in the morning and coming home in the evening, it'll be nice and quiet. So we'll head there now and I'll show you what I mean. Hey, how are you going? Hope you're good. 3 key points when you're learning to ride a motorcycle: where, how, and why. So obviously around here it's nice and quiet, so you could consider this a back street. You know, you can zip up and down here if you want. There's a roundabout at one end, and then at the other end there's a fairly large area that you can do a U-turn. Still kind of got that problem that effectively it is a U-turn. Obviously you can't escape U-turns forever, you got to do them. It's part of getting your provisional license over here. Is part of the test is you've got to smash out a U-turn, show them that you can do that. But even getting from A to B, like just getting to a nice quiet housing estate or some local streets, Still gonna have to do a little bit of riding, so I guess you're gonna start out in your immediate area to begin with, unless that buddy of yours is prepared to take you down there or whatever, or you can drive and meet them there. So why do I like housing estates or residential streets? They're just nice and quiet. Actually, I think it was the day I was doing my test, I was going to the place to do the test, and I saw a guy on L plates at a set of lights just ahead of me, and he looked very fresh, and he actually stalled the bike at the lights and he couldn't get it going again, so he had to push it off onto the pavement, onto the sidewalk, to get it going again. So that's the thing, that was in moderate traffic. Whereas if you come somewhere like this, it's just super quiet. I mean, even at the moment it's kind of holidays, so there's more people around in the day than there would be normally, but it just means you can cruise around. It's nice and quiet, but you've also got a bit of real world experience. It's kind of like a mini setup, because you've got roundabouts, giveaways, that kind of thing, so it's good to practice. And this is actually the very place that I came wobbling around on this very bike back when I got my L's. I actually asked a friend of mine if they'd ride it back from the dealer, so I wasn't confident. It's my first time riding across town to somewhere quiet. So yeah, this was where I wobbled around for quite a while, just over and over. But yeah, reason why I like quiet places like this is you don't have too much traffic, too many people, but there are a few things that you do have to think about. But it's just like, if you want to pull over and stop, you can. No one's really going to care. Everyone's either at work, studying, or whatever, or just having a beer in the pool. You could just practice nice and slow. Just practice, practice, practice. Stop, start, stop, start. You could even put your indicator on, or your hazards, or whatever you really wanted to. But there's plenty of room. You just keep going and going and going. And normally you can just zigzag through the different streets. Bit of a lattice or a grid layout. So you can just keep cruising around and avoid anywhere. Actually, I'm going to go up here. So I could have taken a right down there and just kept cruising. But early on, it would be things like this that caught me out. So be, Struth, what do I do now? And I'd have to think, okay, what am I doing? Going down to first gear, clutch in, coming to a stop. This is a bit of a mongrel because you can't really see around the trees, but it's clear both ways. And a number of times I stalled here was funny, or not funny at the time. But it was good practice, because stalling's all part of it. You're gonna stall, it's just the way it is. Chances are you're gonna stall, but then once you're up and running, you can just cruise around. Most you're really gonna have is like a 90-degree turn. You can practice, signaling or not signaling. It's kind of up to you. Super quiet. I mean, it's good to try and remember to signal, but it just means you can just keep practicing. Down into first, coming to a stop, head checks. It's always good to get those head checks in mind for your test. And then just super slow, we're just cruising around, nice and chilled. Just keep doing your thing, coming to a stop. Just keep going, and we don't have to worry about the dreaded U-turn. But when you do want to do it, you can find somewhere nice and quiet to practice it. But you can just putt around when you start feeling a bit confident. You can go through the gears, Just everything nice and slow. It doesn't matter if it's clunky or jerky. You're just starting out, you're just learning, so it's just practice. Hey, how you going? Hope you're good. 3 key points when you're learning to ride a motorcycle: where, how, and why. The location is super important. So like I said, the reason why I like these housing estates is, especially when they're newer ones, the surface is nice and smooth, easy turns, not many people around, people just chilling, doing their thing. You do have real world stuff, so you've got, you know, driveways, side roads like this where you've got to keep an eye out for stuff, cars parked, dogs, kids, you name it, but it's just nice and quiet, and pretty much no one cares what you're doing. You can just do your thing. The worst that's going to happen is someone's going to give you a wave or ask what you're doing or how you're going, and just say, hey man, I'm just practicing. Oh yeah, I remember when I was practicing. Everything just nice and soft and smooth on everything. We'll go into more detail in another video of what I'm actually doing with the controls, but at the moment we're just focusing on trying to find a good location to practice. But everything's just nice and smooth. Right hand's just smooth on the accelerator, on the throttle, and then left hand is just super smooth on the clutch. Just everything nice and slow, nice and smooth. I'm checking my mirrors, keeping an eye on my surroundings. But you don't have to worry about the U-turn, you can just sweep around, look where you're going. And if you want to, up into second. We'll cover that in another video. So doing a turn in second. Again, everything nice and slow. You know, if you want to stay in first, you can. If you want to practice going up into second, you can. Just checking for driveways and side roads and that kind of stuff. We're just cruising around, looking for somewhere just to stop. Down into first. Nice and smooth on the brakes. Nice and soft. Clutch in, foot down, then a little bit of gas. Hold that gas, let your clutch out, find that biting point. I'm pushing with my foot just so I keep my balance. Nice and slow. Everything's super slow. Still letting the clutch out. There we go, we can just putt around. And then just keeping it slow. Just going to get past the side road just so if someone does come flying around behind me, there's a little bit of room for them to see me. I am trying to be as visible as possible, wearing a bright white top with stripes and a bright orange bike, but you never know. But yeah, a bit of gas, bit of throttle, letting the clutch out nice and slow. Got that biting point, still letting it out slow, still letting it out slow. There we go. But like I say, I'll go into the controls more in detail in another video. I stayed in this very estate just practicing for months really, because I didn't have much time with work and other commitments, so I just kept cruising these streets, just cruising around, starting, stopping, going through the gears, stalling, starting the bike again, that kind of thing. I was like, you know what, that's fine, I'm just going to keep cruising around the estate. You know, just practicing roundabouts, going slow, checking my mirrors, checking I've turned the indicator off, going up through the gears. There was a little bit of jeopardy in this estate in that it's off a 100 stretch, so I had to be careful not to head out. So when I got to this roundabout, I was like, okay, yeah, I can head up there and straight across over to the quiet streets over at the Cove, but I'd have to If I wanted to keep the session going, I'd hang a left or a right. It's always easier hanging a left on a roundabout. So in the beginning I'd just do that. Just keep cruising around. Some days I'd practice starting and stopping. Other days it was pretty warm like it is today. It'd be nice to get a bit of airflow. Up to third. You know, just running up and down through the gears. But it's nice and quiet. There's really no one around. And even if there is, no one cares. So you can just cruise around nice and slow, making mistakes in a forgiving environment, and then getting better and thinking, okay, what next? I should probably practice some U-turns, that kind of thing. Practice stopping. You know, I'd just find something like a shadow on the ground like this. I'd probably be in first, make it easy for myself. So I'd find a shadow on the ground. I'm like, oh, okay, I got to stop in that shadow. There we go. A bit freaky at first. And here we go, here's a car coming. So there are cars every now and then. So just check my mirrors. Let them do their thing. Give them a nod. Then on the gas. A little bit of clutch. And away we go. But yeah, it was just about as safe as environment as I could find to just practice. You know, most people are cool. These guys just stepping out of the way. You know, and you just learn the place. You just somewhere you're familiar with, where you can just practice. Somewhere, you know, you get to know the streets. That's why your local area is always good. Just know where you are. You don't have to worry about getting lost or whatever. And people may even know you, so they're going to cut you some slack, that kind of thing. This estate's pretty open, so you can see all the turns pretty clear. But yeah, we're just going around in circles, really. Hey, how you going? Hope you're good. 3 key points when you're learning to ride a motorcycle: where, how, and why. This estate's pretty open, so you can see all the turns pretty clear. But yeah, we're just going around in circles, really. And this is cool because it's got the central road through the middle, which I think is 50 in the main bit of the estate, but then all the side streets are just super quiet. So there you go, had to slow down a bit, down at first. So there are things you do have to think about, but if you stay, well, I used to stay away from this central road as often as I could, for as long as I could. And then when I wanted to up my skills, I just find something that I had to go deal with. But I don't know, I just think housing estates are cool environments to learn to ride a bike, learn to ride a motorcycle, because it's got elements of what you're going to be dealing with out on the roads. It's just a bit more forgiving, and you just don't have that traffic, because the traffic, that's what will get you. You get flustered, you've got to think about what you're doing, because when you're starting out, you know, even just remembering about your indicator, to use the indicator, remember which way you're going. Okay, I'm going right, I'm going left, whatever it is. And then you've got to remember to turn it off. You've got to think about the gears, try not to, you know, target, fixate, that kind of thing. So there's a lot to learn. And as you're cruising around, you'll find little areas like this. Okay, this looks pretty quiet. It's right on the edge of the estate by the bush. And you think, okay, this is a good spot for practicing U-turns. Okay, look at this. This looks nice. Yeah, this looks pretty good. And this was the exact spot where I just spent hours practicing U-turns and doing figure eights and that kind of thing. And then when I had enough for doing that, or I wanted to get some fresh air, a bit of breeze, I just head off, do a bit of riding around the estate, have a break from doing those U-turns, just putting around, just getting used to the bike, time on the bike, getting used to how it feels. But I do enjoy riding the bike, and I definitely enjoyed learning. It was stressful at times, highs and lows. It's funny coming up to this street here, because I had some sessions here doing U-turns and that, where I just couldn't get it. I just sucked. I leave feeling demoralized, but I come back another day. But yeah, try and bust one out now. So, can't even remember how to do it. So it's like first, I'd be just putting around, you know. I'd be like, okay, I'm in first gear. How do I do a U-turn? I found my little bit that's nice and wide, and then I'm just going to try and bust a U-turn, fast idle, that kind of stuff. Look where I'm going. Ooh, there we go. And head off. Just that over and over and over. I started with those end parts because there was just a bit more room. But yeah, just hours and hours doing U-turns. And yeah, some days I just feel demoralized because if you're trying to do your thing, you know, what I'd probably recommend is not having mirrors on the underside, because couldn't quite get a decent turn there, but managed to do it nonetheless. So yeah, I suck. Need to get back here and do some more practice. Probably have to think about the mirrors for that. But anyway, so yeah, if I got too hot or whatever, I'll just go for a ride, get some fresh air, mix it up, that kind of thing. But yeah, hope you're finding these videos interesting, helpful. Hopefully they're getting you to think about stuff, have a conversation in your mind or with someone else, make some good decisions. It's just good to get out, a bike, a board, a walk, a run, a coffee, a beer, whatever it is. I always feel better for going to do something if I can. I taught hundreds of people how to ride quad bikes, and a big part of that was going through the controls with them at the beginning. So they're pretty similar on a motorbike, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to explain them to you clearly and concisely and not make the video too long. But if I miss anything, or you don't understand anything, or you think I got something wrong, feel free to hit me up in the comments. So this is part of the series of videos I'm doing at the moment on how to ride, or when you're learning to ride a motorcycle, and I split that up into 3 key points: where, how and why. Basically your location, the controls, and your progress. So we're moving on to the controls now, because we've done the where part of things pretty extensively, covered a few options when you're just starting out, good places to learn a ride. My personal favorite is a nice quiet housing estate, so we're back in the estate so we can find somewhere quiet to go through the controls. And in this particular video for the controls, it's going to be based on this bike. It's basically a modern motorcycle, and all modern motorcycles are very similar, so as long as you're not riding some super cool World War II motorcycle, it should be pretty similar. If it's not exactly the same, you'll just have to figure out the differences, but I'm hoping that I'm going to cover things that are very similar. And one of the first things we're going to cover is where the key goes, that kind of stuff, and where your ignition is, and that's going to be the same on any kind of bike. You're going to have some kind of startup procedure. My main goal at the moment is to find somewhere quiet so I can pull over, turn the bike off, and go through the controls. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to be using my bike, which is a KTM Duke 390. It's kind of a classic beginner bike over here in Australia. Obviously at this point, I'm assuming you've got your hands on a bike and you've got the key. You'll see often the key will be in the lock position. So the first thing you're going to want to do is turn the key so it removes that lock, and it allows you to straighten out the handlebars and that front wheel. It's more of a deterrent. If someone really wants to steal your bike, that's probably not going to stop them. But let's go through the controls. I'm going to try and be brief just to keep the video short. Most people think of motorcycles kind of two sides. Your right hand side is go and stop, and the left hand side is everything that you need to do in conjunction with that right hand side. So things that are essential to make the vehicle go, such as changing gears, indicating, that kind of stuff. Control of your console, that kind of thing, tends to be in this area. My bike's a beginner bike, so it's quite straightforward, quite simple. Some of the components may be considered a bit old these days, but if we go through the key, first of all, the next position would be in the on position, the ready position. It's not going to go anywhere because the engine isn't on, and in order to do that you have to do a startup procedure, which we will cover. But for the moment I'm just going to turn it off again, and I'm just going to walk around and go through the controls on this side. So first of all, up here we've got our throttle. That's our go button, as it were, nice and gentle on that. Just in front of that you've got your front brake. This is where most of your stopping power is, so you need to get familiar with that front brake. Your rear brake is down here with a foot pedal. You are supposed to use both those together. There's various ratios that people talk about, 70-30, 80-20, but basically you want to be doing the majority of the stopping of your stopping with the front brake. Nice big powerful brake at the front on most bikes to help you stop, and makes the bike dip down so it loads up that contact patch, gives you a bit more grip. Kill switch up here. If you want to start the bike or have the bike running, you got to have it in the on position. If you engage that kill switch, it's going to kill the engine. Just underneath you got a starter button, just under there. Those work in conjunction to fire the bike up. But there is a startup procedure for most bikes, similar for most, might be slightly different for yours, but I'll show you that either later on in this video or in an upcoming video. Then we're going to move on to this side of the bike, the left hand side. So this one, this grip doesn't move, that's stationary. Just in front you've got your clutch lever. The clutch is down inside the bike, let's say, but this lever here via a cable, what it does is it disengages your clutch like this. So when you pull your brake lever, you're actually essentially doing this, squeezing together, whereas when you pull your clutch lever you're going apart. But that's more mechanical stuff. It doesn't really matter too much at this point. Just this, remember that this is your clutch lever and you're going to be pulling that in to change gears. Then you've got controls here for your center control, for your center console, indicators, your horn. I used to hit that all the time when I was trying to indicate. Lights, controls, that kind of stuff. Every bike's a little bit different, so it just depends. You know, they might be somewhere different on yours. Obviously you got your fuel tank here, but that's pretty much it. I don't want to like overdo things at this point. I just want to keep them nice and simple. Obviously you've got your kickstand down there at the bottom, that's keeping the bike upright. But yeah, I'm going to throw a leg over. So the principles, or the way they tell you to do this on most courses, is they ask you to hold on to this grip with your left hand, reach across, pull that front brake in so the bike doesn't roll, throw your leg up and over, and then normally get that kickstand up by hitting it with your heel. And now I've got full control of the bike with my body, and nothing's going to happen. I can actually rev the bike. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to be using my bike, which is a KTM Duke 390. It's kind of a classic beginner bike over here in Australia. I'll try and cover everything. If I miss anything, just hit me up in the comments. Let me know I've been a naughty boy. Obviously, at this point, I'm assuming you've got your hands on a bike and you've got the key. You'll see often the key will be in the lock position. So the first thing you're going to want to do is turn the key so it removes that lock, and it allows you to straighten out the handlebars and that front wheel. It's more of a deterrent. If someone really wants to steal your bike, that's probably not going to stop them. I'm going to throw a leg over. So the principles, or the way they tell you to do this on most courses, is they ask you to hold on to this grip with your left hand, reach across, pull that front brake in so the bike doesn't roll, throw your leg up and over, and then normally get that kickstand up by hitting it with your heel. And now I've got full control of the bike with my body. I'm now sat on the bike trying to get comfortable, feet are on the ground, kind of wobbling the bike side to side. I always check my mirrors at this point, check that I'm happy with them. I pick a point behind me and look in both of them and make sure that I'm happy with the way both of them line up. I tend to pick somewhere that's behind my back, and then I try and line up both mirrors so that they cover as much of the road as they can and also catch a bit of me here. But everyone's got personal preference, just like a car, how they want to set up their mirrors. Okay, so at this point, the thing you can do is you want to make sure you're in neutral. So I'm going to use my left foot, yeah, and if I tap downwards, that's going to mean that the bike is in first gear by pushing down. So now I can't actually roll anywhere. So I've got two options. I can pull the clutch in, so I've pulled my left hand in, and now I can actually roll forwards and backwards if I want to. And just to help, by using the indicator on the screen, so it's saying the kill switch is on. Okay, so I've turned the kill switch off, and you can see up here first gear. Okay, so what I can do is just a half click up my foot on that lever that I pointed out before. So my left toe got underneath, did a half click up, we now gone into neutral. So I can actually let go of that clutch, and now I can still roll backwards and forwards. And when you do your learner course and stuff, that you spend most of the first day with the engine off, just kind of pushing the bike around with your own power, Flintstone style, just to get used to it. But what we're going to do is we're going to start the bike up. So I have a startup procedure that I like to do. I call it 4K. So just like, you know, the quality of a video. So 4K, because, you know, you got this procedure. Yes, you're going to be doing it at the start of your ride when things are pretty relaxed. But if you stall, say in busy traffic or whatever, it's easy to panic. You want to stay nice and cool. And I find that having a procedure in mind helps. So what I came up with was 4K, just to help me remember. So whenever I'm starting the bike, or if I stall it, I think, okay, 4K, what does that mean? Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is check, is the kickstand up? Yeah, kickstand's up. Then check the key. Okay, key. All right, turn the bike on. Cool. Then kill switch. Yep, kill switch is not engaged, so we can actually now start the bike and know what gear you're in. Yep. So at the moment I'm in neutral, but you might have stalled in third gear or fifth gear or whatever. You want to make sure you're down either back in neutral or down to first. Today I was doing my test. I was going to the place to do the test, and I saw a guy on L plates at a set of lights just ahead of me, and he looked very fresh, and he actually stalled the bike at the lights and he couldn't get it going again, so he had to push it off onto the pavement, onto the sidewalk, to get it going again. So that's the thing. That was in, you know, moderate traffic. Most people, when they start a bike, they pull the clutch in. There's various reasons for that. People say they don't want the bike to lurch forward. You might not be in neutral, or it might say you're in neutral but you're actually in a gear, so it's going to lurch forward. Other people say it takes strain off of the engine, that kind of thing. But yeah, just for the sake of covering our bases, I tend to pull it in, and then we know it doesn't matter what gear I'm in, the bike's going to start without lurching forwards. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push the starter button, which is just down here on my bike, and there you go. You can see the motorcycle is started. I can let go of that clutch now, clutch lever, because I'm in neutral, and nothing's going to happen. I can actually rev the bike and because I'm in neutral, the transmission isn't engaged. So basically, you know, your gears and your clutch, they work together with your motor and your engine to send power to the rear wheel. And if you've got it in neutral and you're not in the gear, then there's nothing happening. So you can rev that engine as much as you want, but it's not sending anything to the rear wheel. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the clutch in, and with that lever down there, I'm going to push down once, and you might have felt the bike lurch ever so slightly forwards, but you can see now it's in first gear. So you can see the bike is idling. Every bike kind of has a rev range that it idles in. So if I start to release the clutch over here, we're going to enter what is called the friction zone, or the biting point. And like right now, you can see the bike is starting to move forward. A lot of bikes have what's known as a wet clutch. Basically, it means you're not going to burn the clutch out by just slowly slipping it out. So I'll just do that again. So I'm just releasing the clutch super slow, and then once it starts to bite, the bike is going to start moving forward. So we're going forward. That's the engine just starting to carry the bike forward. Okay, so I'm just going to pop it back up into neutral, which means I can now let go of the controls. So we've got the controls in front of us. I'm literally doing a tiny little movements. It's not this, because that'll stall the bike. Okay, I can show you that if you want. So I'll put it in first. I mean, in the beginning, just cut yourself some slack, do whatever feels comfortable when you're literally first time trying to get the bike moving. So basically, this clutch lever, you want to be super sensitive. I'm only using 2 fingers. I'd highly recommend you probably use all of your fingers for your braking and your clutch. So your brake lever and your clutch lever, use all 4 fingers basically, because when you do your training or for your test on the day, they're going to probably tell you they want to see you using all 4 fingers. We can get into a debate about that, but it's their rules. I covered that in the 4th part of my video series on what I learned in my first year. Told a story about my horrendous day when I went to do my test. Basically, I'd done loads of training using 2 fingers, having my fingers over the levers, that kind of thing, and I'd done months of training doing it that way, and then I rocked up on the day and they were telling me to use all 4 fingers, which really threw me off. So good tip for you is use all 4 fingers, just so that you don't fall into the same issue that I did. Regardless of how many fingers you're using, I mean, in the beginning, just cut yourself some slack, do whatever feels comfortable when you're literally first time trying to get the bike moving. So just giving it a little bit of rear brake, and I've gone down into first, and I'm not giving any throttle whatsoever. Okay, I'm just releasing out the clutch. Yeah, just letting the clutch out, and now we're moving forwards. Okay, and I'm just pushing with my feet very gently just to keep the bike balanced. But once we get up to a certain speed, like now, I've actually taken my feet off the ground and we are racing. So we're going pretty slow, we're just in first gear, but this is literally the idle revs of the bike, of the engine doing the business. So I'm not giving it any throttle. Yeah, and what I can do is I can modulate my speed by just pulling that clutch in. Now we've disengaged the engine, we're starting to slow down. Okay, and then I can give it a little bit more, and now we're moving forwards. So you can actually ride around just using the clutch to modulate your speed between it being engaged and not being engaged. But yeah, I mean, the bike's not super happy, so we're just going uphill here, so I'm just going to give it a tiny bit of revs just so we don't stall. But that's only because we're going uphill. If we were on the flat, it would have just putted around. Happy days. Just for, so I'll do that again. So clutch in, and then I'm just gonna release the clutch ever so slightly just so we can get that biting point. If you do it too fast, you're gonna stall. So I'm going super slow. I'm still letting it out. I'm still letting it out, and now it's completely gone. Okay, so the clutch is out. I'm not giving it any gas. Yeah, and because we've got a few revs with the engine with that idle, it is putting along. It's not too happy, because we're going uphill, but it is just putting along. So I'm just giving it a tiny bit of gas with my right hand, twisting the throttle. We'll just go down here where it's a bit more flat, and I'll show you again. Okay, so I'm just going to get away from the bend just so no one flies around, takes me out kind of thing. So I pulled the clutch in, I'm pulling the brake, coming to a stop, got my foot down. So I'm just going to prop it up into neutral. So now I can let go of everything. So we've got the controls in front of us. I'm literally doing a tiny little movements. It's not this, because that'll stall the bike. Okay, I can show you that if you want. So I put it in first, and there we go, buckaroo. There we go, buckaroo. Let that out way too fast. So I'm putting the clutch in. So this is where you stalled at the lights, big traffic. Oh no, what am I doing? Okay, 4K. Okay, kickstand's up. Key is in the on position. Kill switch is in the go position. What gear am I in? Okay, I'm in first gear. What do I do? What do I do? Shall I try and find neutral? Oh, I can't find neutral. Oh no, this. Okay, a cheat. Pull the clutch in. Side stand down. Oh, I must have knocked that when I stalled. Okay, key. Okay, key's in the on position. Kill switch. Kill switch in the go position. Oh, first gear. What do I do? Oh, let's try and get into neutral. Okay, we're in neutral. Right, I'm going to pull the clutch in and start the bike up. Okay. That can be a stress in traffic, so it's good to practice. I find that 4K thing really helps, just because there's 4 things I've got to check. Right, so we're in neutral at the moment, and all I'm going to do, hit down once. Let's go into first gear. We'll cover the gears in more detail in another video, but right now I'm not going to give any throttle. I'm just letting go of that clutch lever, super slow, and you can see the bike wants to move forwards because there is a little bit, you know, the engine is ticking over. So now I'm just pushing with my toes just to keep my balance, and now my feet are coming up. Yep, and I'm still letting the clutch out, taking ages to do that just so it doesn't stall. And there you go, we're putting along. And if I want to slow down, I just pull the clutch in. But you can go around for ages just practicing this. Clutch control is a big part of riding a motorbike. Now, if you want to ride a motorcycle well, clutch control, super important. And you can just practice finding that biting point, that friction zone. And whenever you're doing your slow speed maneuvers, especially for your test, they're going to want you to learn that friction zone. Super important, you know. They're going to teach you a few other things like using the rear brake as well, but this is where I did all my practice for my test, all my U-turns, that kind of thing. But I'm not giving it any gas, and you can see we're going, you know. You could get to wherever you wanted to go doing this. It'd just take a while. Yeah, but literally, you know, I'm holding on just to keep my balance because we're not going fast enough that the bike wants to stay up on its own steam. But I haven't touched the accelerator, the throttle at all, so I'm just cruising around. The bike's doing its thing. There used to be those videos a while back where people walk next to their cars. Same principle, get the thing going. Obviously this is on 2 wheels, so it'd topple over, but if I pull the clutch in, we're slowing down. Okay, see the speed starting to drop, and then as soon as I want to, I can just start letting go of the clutch again, just letting it out super slow, checking my mirrors so I know there's no one up behind me. See our speed's increasing, and now the clutch is fully out. Just going to take control of the situation here. So there's a runner, and that's it. You can go for days doing that, just using the clutch. It's gonna hurt at first. My hands hurt for the first 6 months, I reckon, just because I wasn't used to these movements and the muscles never really been used in that way. So it does take a little while to get that strength, and your hands might hurt. Some people say it's because you're holding on too tight. You know, I spent years riding quads, teaching people how to ride those quads, and it wasn't from holding on too tight, just my muscles weren't used to it. But it could be from holding on too tight, you know. Maybe I was, maybe you are, I don't know. If something's hurting, you just do your best to try and figure out what's causing it, and then, you know, either your muscles are going to get stronger, or you've got to fix what you're doing wrong. But it could just be that they're weak, or maybe you are holding on too tight. But yeah, it's amazing what you can do with just that little bit of clutch control. So on your course, they're actually going to want you to probably do fast idle, friction zone. I'm not going to do 4 fingers on the clutch. Oh, hold on, let's do it. Okay, fine. I taught hundreds of people how to ride quad bikes, and a big part of that was going through the controls with them at the beginning. They're pretty similar on a motorbike, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to explain them to you clearly and concisely and not make the video too long. But if I miss anything, or you don't understand anything, or you think I got something wrong, feel free to hit me up in the comments. Okay, I've just come back to our quiet strip. I'm just going to stop here, so down into first, pull over a bit just in case someone comes up behind, and then we're going to go through our startup procedure. So I'm going to kill the bike by using the kill switch. I'm going to turn the key off, use my heel to get the kickstand down, tipping the bike over. Okay, so we're going to go through our startup procedure. This is a pretty modern bike. It's a pretty basic bike, but the fact that it's only a few years old means that it's going to be very similar to a lot of bikes out there. Obviously there's going to be some bikes that are different. If you've got some retro bike, or you've got, you know, a big cruiser or something, it might be a little bit different to this one, but most bikes are kind of similar. Not all of them have the safety feature that if the kickstand is down, the engine won't start. We're going to go through this procedure. So what I tend to do is, first thing I do is get my kickstand up. So I'm thinking 4K, okay, kickstand. Then I'm going to go key, okay, let's get that key. Okay, we're in the on position. Kill switch is engaged. Okay, now the kill switch is in the run position. And then my final thing is know what gear I'm in. So I'm in first gear, so I put it in neutral. So we've done our 4K, kickstand, key, kill switch, know what gear you're in. We're neutral. You don't have to pull the clutch in on this bike. Saying we're in neutral, I can roll forwards and backwards. If we're in a gear, I wouldn't be able to do that. Some people say to pull the clutch when you're starting the bike for various reasons. Sometimes I forget. Just to show you now, I'm not going to pull it in. I'm going to hit that starter, and there you go, the bike started. Okay, but when I do remember, I just pull the clutch in. I figure if it's doing something good, happy days. Okay, so that's our startup procedure. So if I was to push the kickstand down, because we're in neutral, nothing happened. Okay, but if we were riding along in first gear, or a classic for me, I pull up to the petrol pump because I'm stressing out, because, you know, anxiety's kicking off or whatever. I'm like, okay, I got to stop the bike, got to try and get into neutral. I'm trying really hard. Oh, second gear, oh, first gear, no, I want to get neutral. Second, third, what? No, first, okay, try and get neutral. Oh, I can't get it. People are going to be looking at me, oh my god, I'm so stressed. Then often what I do is I just throw the kill switch. Often what I do is I then put the kickstand down, or the side stand. You can see it killed the bike. Then when I get back on, I go through my procedures of 4K. The first thing I do is put the kickstand or the side stand up. Then my second thing is my key, then my kill switch. Then I need to know what gear I'm in. I can see I'm in first, and the bike won't start because I'm in first. Even if I'm the bike won't start because I'm in first, even if I pull the clutch lever in. So I'm going to go up to half a click up to neutral. Now we're in neutral. I'm still holding the clutch lever in. There we go, we can start the bike. So on your course, they're actually going to want you to probably do fast idle, friction zone. So this chart here with your revs, at the moment we're about a 2. What they're going to want you to do is be using all 4 fingers on your throttle and your clutch. I'm not going to do 4 fingers on the clutch because I will stall for sure. Oh, hold on, let's do it. Okay, fine. I'm going to do what I'm back on my day of my test. I'm getting told you don't know what you're doing, stop using 2 fingers, use 4. Okay, and what they want is they want a little bit of revs. They call that fast idle. Okay, so you can see the revs are picking up. Just kind of helps stopping the bike from stalling. And then you're going to release. Oh, so the first thing I'm going to want to do is put myself in first gear, which I forgot. Too busy yakking. So now you're going to do that fast idle. That means a few more revs. You can see the counter going up. Okay, now that's my fast idle. It's not too much, it's just a bit. And now my left hand is starting to let that clutch out. And now you can see friction zone. The bike is moving forwards. Now there's a high risk of me stalling this because I don't normally use 4 fingers anymore. But I've pushed with my feet a bit. I'm still letting the clutch out now. Just doing it super slow. You can hear that or see that the revs are staying kind of the same. So I'm trying to keep my hand in the same position, my right hand. And I'm just letting that clutch out super slow. And that's kind of how they want you to do your slow speed maneuvers. Right now the clutch is fully out and we're cruising. It's at that point that you would start to change gears on the bike. So we're in first, so we want to go to second. And the way we do that is throttle off, so right hand off, clutch in, get under that lever, kick up into second gear, gas, let the clutch out. Okay, you can see we're going super slow, but because I'm letting the clutch out nice and slow, we didn't stall. Okay, but it's that same procedure every time you want to change gear. So I'm going to hang a right here, just go back down to our quiet spot. I'm going to go through what I did with the gears, but I'll pull over so we can talk about it. It's that movement. Just buffering away from that corner because it's a blind corner. Going to drop down into second. Changing gears is a whole video in itself. If you want to get nice and quick at it, nice and smooth. But when you're beginning, you do things a little differently. It's a bit like when you're at school and you're really young and you used to have things called remainders. I don't know if you remember those. And you divide something by another number and then you'd end up with a remainder, and then you got to start another year of school and they're like, yeah, remember remainders? Forget about those. We're going to do decimals. It's that kind of thing. When you're riding a bike, you want to simplify it in the beginning, and sometimes the way you're doing stuff just isn't going to be what you're doing it when you're down the line a few months or a few years, that kind of thing. I'm going to pop the bike into neutral. Okay, let the clutch go. Just going to kill the engine so you can hear me. It's a bit windy today, but hopefully you can still hear me. So the action when you're trying to change gear, or when you are changing gear, you're going to be riding along in first with no clutch because you've let that out fully. First thing you can do is throttle off. Yep, so throttle off. Then over here you're going to be pulling with your 4 fingers, clutch in. Probably as a beginner you're going to pull it all the way to the bar. That's another thing that you'll change probably. Don't need to pull it all the way, you just need to pull it that little amount that has you in the friction zone. Then you're going to use your left foot down here, get under the gear lever, and then you're going to click up. Motorcycles have a sequential gearbox, so 1 to 6, 6 to 1 on my bike. So you have to go up and down the gears in sequence, or in other words, you have to go through them in order. Neutral is approximately half a click from first and second. If you move the lever half a click away from either of those towards the other, you should find neutral. 1 click down to find first. Then we're going up to second, third, fourth, fifth, 6th, fifth, fourth, third, second, first. And you can see I can't go any further. And then half click up to neutral. And then if you're changing from first into second, obviously you'd be in first, not neutral, but I'm just showing you what to do. So you'd be driving along, throttle on. Yeah. Then you're going to throttle off. Then you're going to pull in the clutch. Then you're going to get your foot under the gear shifter down there. Click up. See, we went into second. Then you're going to start to let the clutch out, but at the same time you're going to put a bit of gas on, and then away you go. It's that movement, basically, that whatever you're taking off with the clutch, you're putting on with the gas. You can think of it that way. Do your head checks. Little bit of gas, that fast idle they're talking about. Letting that clutch out. Still letting the clutch out. Still letting it out. Still letting it out. Still letting it out. Still letting it out. And there we go. Fully out. And then I'm going to give it a bit more throttle. Just go around the bend. And then I'm going to throttle off. Clutch in, change gear. Back on the gas and off the clutch. So throttle off, clutch in, gear up, then back on the gas and letting the clutch out. But we're going to cover that in more detail in another video, because it's quite a complicated skill to get. If you've driven a manual car, you'll have a better understanding. You don't have to have done that, it just helps. And then you can just cruise around. Same thing, if we're going to third, throttle off, clutch in, up to third, then letting the clutch out whilst giving it a bit of gas, and then we're up into third. I love that feeling of riding a motorcycle. So good. Let's give this guy a nod. Ooh, doubling up. But yeah, hope you're finding these videos interesting, helpful. Hopefully they're getting you to think about stuff, have a conversation in your mind or with someone else. Make some good decisions. It's just good to get out. A bike, a board, a walk, a run, a coffee, a beer, whatever it is. I always feel better for going to do something if I can. I enjoyed teaching hundreds of people how to ride quad bikes, and then taught myself how to ride a bike after doing a learner course, and I just fell in love with it. Always had an interest in bikes, but I struggled finding that real basic knowledge, so I figured having another person trying to help get that information out there wouldn't be a bad thing. So hopefully you're finding it useful. And then you've got people like Moto Jitsu who take things to a way higher level, lots of levels above what I'm doing. And I appreciate all the videos and all that content that he's put out and continues to put out, because it's super helpful and useful, and in my opinion important. Like I was saying, you want to do that practice. It's a good idea to do it before and after you do your course or your test, and either way you look at it, you know, if you want to get better at something, pretty much you got to practice. Probably wouldn't say that practice makes perfect. It's more like good practice makes for good progress kind of thing. I do believe spending time on the bike does improve things, does make you get better. but I also believe that if you do kind of targeted practice and training in specific areas, you're really going to improve in those as well. And it's also on and off the bike, I would argue. So obviously on the bike, you know what that is. That's kind of doing your braking, your U-turns, changing gear, spatial awareness, getting used to the speed, getting used to your bike, all that kind of stuff. I'm thinking, okay, what next? I should probably practice stopping. I'd just find something like a shadow on the ground like this. I'd probably be in first, make it easy for myself. So I'd find a shadow on the ground. I'm like, oh, okay, I got to stop in that shadow. There we go. A bit freaky at first. And then you've also got stuff like learning the law, learning the road rules, what you can and can't do, that kind of thing. There's a video doing the rounds at the moment. It's getting a lot of views about a guy just down the coast from here. So New South Wales, Australia, getting, I don't even know how to say it, but he gets pulled over. I think it's a random breath test. Checking everybody, cars, trucks, bikes, that kind of thing. And yeah, gets kind of a tough time from the cop, let's put it that way. I do actually have a video of my first cop stop, and I am planning on putting that up, and I was thinking of maybe doing it in this part of this series, because I do feel that part of your practice, kind of your off-bike practice, is trying to get familiar with the laws, so that if you do have a cop like that, I'm not saying to kick off or whatever, because I think they are in a position of power, and what you can if you want, but my choice would be just know my rights, know the laws, know where I stand. At least that way maybe I can just keep my mouth shut and not say something to get myself into trouble, but also have a little bit of confidence. Hey, I'm not saying I'm a tough guy or anything, or like when I got pulled over, I was nervous. I didn't know what was going on. First time I got pulled over in a car, still when I get pulled over in the car, I'm like, how is this gonna go? You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm gonna get shot or anything, but I don't want to get tasered. My idea of a good time, but I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you just don't know, do you? We're all humans. They might be having a bad day. I don't know. They might ping me for something, whether I've done it or not. That's up to them. Yeah. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
No worries.
Just be safe on the bike, yeah?
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah. But I'm just saying, that confidence of being self-assured that you're confident you haven't done anything wrong, okay? Hopefully that's not misplaced confidence, but at least then you can try and be relaxed in that situation, and then maybe not confess to something that you may or may not have done. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Just saying, off the bike knowledge is practice as well. Learning that stuff. There we go. Sneaky little speed camera there. Like, I got into this whole thing because I wanted to get out on the dunes on a dirt bike. Okay, so this topic, right? Gear. That's something you're gonna have to learn about. When it comes to wet weather gear, man, I tried out a lot of stuff. You want to do that practice before and after you do your course or your test, and either way you look at it, you know, if you want to get better at something, you got to practice. Probably wouldn't say that practice makes perfect. It's more like good practice makes for good progress kind of thing. But then you've also got your off the bike kind of stuff, so that's maybe you're learning a little bit of maintenance, how to maintain some of those simple things on your bike, so you don't have to take it into the shop every time. There's nothing wrong with taking it to the shop. I myself like saving a bit of money where I can. Maybe you do too. It's mainly those little checks before each ride. Tire pressure's a big one, your lights, that kind of stuff. And it's good just to know your bike as well. And then you've also got stuff like learning the law, learning the road rules, what you can and can't do, that kind of thing. Just saying, off the bike knowledge is practice as well. Learning that stuff. There we go. Sneaky little speed camera there, but I can't even go above 90 at the moment because I'm on my P's. Not for long. I'm almost off them. Everyone's a bit spooked by that speed camera. They will slow down to my speed. I'm going slow because I have to. Flustered. That kind of comes back to that knowing the laws. It's like it's 100 along here. The cops on the side doing the speed check, and if you're going over that, they'll ping you, but you can do 95, 99. Also, just your general knowledge of stuff. So, just learning what it's like to be on two wheels, kind of the difference between maybe being a pedestrian or driving a car or a truck or whatever it is. There's a lot to think about, there's a lot to learn, and I'm an advocate for watching YouTube videos because I really think it does help learning off people who have more knowledge than you. So another thing is, good practice would be trying to ride different bikes if you can. Like, I got into this whole thing because I wanted to get out on the dunes on a dirt bike, and I'm still trying to get towards that. But yeah, I think I've seen plenty of people saying that riding more bikes, be it street bikes or bikes for different kinds of terrain, you're just going to be a better rider for it if you ride different kinds of bikes. I think I would subscribe to that. And also different terrain, like surely you're going to be a better rider for riding on different terrain, same as riding in those different conditions. Like, I ride differently on the roads depending what the conditions are, if it's rain, wind, shine or whatever. And it's the same on the dunes. Like, it would be different conditions depending on what the sand was doing. With the extreme heat in the summer, it gets super dry and then behave differently, and in maybe in the winters when it was extended periods of wet weather, it would be different again. So getting the equipment on and off the beach every day, every shift, or whatever weather conditions really came into that. It's really super soft sand in the summer, or making it nice and easy with the wet sand. But then yeah, that for riding the quad was just different conditions, so I had to adapt. Gonna have to practice in different weather conditions. They're gonna catch you. Like today, I thought I was gonna nip out, get my ride done before this extreme weather event. I'm still hoping I will, but you know, I've been caught out in the rain. I used to have to do the quads in all conditions, all weathers, and you can do it, and it's kind of fun. I used to enjoy doing rides in the rain, but you do get soaked through. I mean, there's... Okay, so this topic, right? Gear. That's something you're gonna have to learn about. Off the bike practice, let's call it that, or training, whatever. When it comes to wet weather gear, man, I tried out a lot of stuff, a lot of gear that was labeled as wet weather gear, and out on those dunes you were exposed into elements. We're doing all year round. We're doing, like, you know, 35 in the summer, I don't know what that is in American, I don't know, 100 or something, and then in the winter, you know, you're getting temps here which for us is pretty cold, of kind of 20, tops of 20 in the day, 18 if you're unlucky. So yeah, you've got that kind of trying to keep warm side of things, trying to keep dry, and there's a lot of stuff that says it's, you know, waterproof, and I tell you it is not. And sometimes, again, coming back to that budget side of things, you're maybe looking to save a bit of money, maybe you can't afford the stuff or whatever, but for me it's like I'm having to pay for quality stuff. I just don't like it when you buy stuff and it doesn't do what it says. Like waterproof gloves that after 10 minutes they soak through to your hands and your hands are freezing, so you're like, you know what, I'm literally wringing the water out of these, it's not worth wearing them, you know? I mean, I could do a whole video on gloves. I found that out as well on the dunes when I first started. I didn't wear gloves, and then I looked like I was wearing gloves because my hands went so brown that people thought, are you wearing gloves? No, wait, it's just you got these funny brown hands compared to your white arms. So don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against brown hands, but when the fashion police are pulling you over for a mismatch, then yeah. Anyway, so kind of these days when it comes to motorcycle gear, sometimes I save myself a bit and don't get the wet weather version because, okay, I'm fortunate, I live somewhere where it's way more sunny than it is wet, so chances are I can get away with it. And yeah, I've been caught out in the rain, not with my gear on, and you just get wet, so it's not the end of the world. In the beginning, you're learning to ride a bike. You've made that decision, you want to learn how to ride, and you want to know how to do that. Then you've also got things like junctions and roundabouts, and there's a lot of stuff you've got to try and look out for. So we're now on to why practice. And the short of it is that in the beginning, you're learning to ride a bike. You've made that decision, you want to learn how to ride, and you want to know how to do that. So you got those basics like the controls, turning the bike on, you know, figuring out how to get the thing to go, kind of your clutch, your accelerator, your gears, biting point, friction zone, fast idle, all that kind of stuff. And normally that's going to be in preparation for doing your learner course, so that's good stuff to know and cover before the course and after the course. You know, it's good to do a course even if you don't have to do a course as part of learning to ride a bike and getting your license and stuff. it's a good idea. They got a lot of knowledge. They got a safe place to learn how to ride, that kind of thing. And then also you're probably going to be doing a test. So for me, that was my P's. Obviously you got your MSF in the States, CBT in the UK. I'm not sure of the name of the one in Europe, but they got them all over the world. And the one over here in New South Wales, Australia, is called the MOST, Motorcycle Operation Skills Test. So you're going to be doing your practice because you obviously want to pass that. But even after you pass, you're going to be on your provisional plates, your P plates, and you want to keep practicing, you know, because you're only going to be so good by that point. And even with that in mind, I like what Moto Jitsu said a few months ago in one of his videos, where he said, you know, you can do your beginner course, but if you never do another course again after that, you're just going to be basically a beginner rider for your whole riding career, as it were. So he really advocates doing more courses, you know, just keep doing those courses, keep learning, you know, ride safe, wear all your gear all the time. Just try and be a good, safe rider, knowledgeable rider, so that, you know, the chance of you having a crash or whatever, getting into an incident is reduced as much as possible. So you got things you're going to practice as a beginner that there's going to be things that you're going to struggle with. So in the beginning, you got obviously trying to get the bike started, trying to get it moving, probably going to stall a lot. It's just part of it. I've done videos for that, so you can check those out either by going to the description or just jumping on the channel. They're all there. Then you've also got things like junctions and roundabouts, and there's a lot of stuff you've got to try and look out for. It's that spatial awareness, risk assessment, just seeing what dangers there. Sometimes being patient, sometimes being proactive in a situation. situation with the bus a few minutes back. Like, I wasn't quite sure what was going on. So they're a little naughty, I guess, but I just think we're pretty much invisible. Just depends on the situation, sir. Just depends on the situation, and you as a motorcycle rider, you got to assess that stuff. And I'm not saying I'm going to teach you everything there is to know, because I'm just doing the real basic stuff. That's my little niche that I've decided to tuck into. I'm passionate about it. I enjoyed teaching hundreds of people how to ride quad bikes, and then taught myself how to ride a bike after doing a learner course, and I just fell in love with it. Always had an interest in bikes, so hopefully you're finding it useful. So it's good to practice before and after you do your course or your test or both. You know, the statistics are pretty sobering, so whatever we can do. There's going to be things that you're going to struggle with as a beginner. So in the beginning, you got obviously trying to get the bike started, trying to get it moving. Probably going to stall a lot. It's just part of it. I've done videos for that, so you can check those out either by going to the description or just jumping on the channel. They're all there. Then you've also got things like junctions and roundabouts, and there's a lot of stuff you've got to try and look out for. It's that spatial awareness, risk assessment, just seeing what danger's there. Sometimes being patient, sometimes being proactive in a situation. That situation with the bus a few minutes back, like, I wasn't quite sure what was going on. Like, you know, I don't know whether they saw me or not, and then I didn't know whether they were trying to let me go or not, and I was just erring on the side of caution. You know, I'm in an 80 stretch with cars coming towards me. I didn't want to risk getting pinched with a bus. Like, yeah, you know the saying, got hit by a bus. Want to be that guy. So we're coming up to this roundabout here. It's always a tricky one, this one, because people are cutting across. Let's get to Salamander Bay and Soldiers Point. And I've also got the people up behind me who have been cruising along at 80, so might have gotten used to cruising along. I've gotten lucky this time, fairly quiet. Still concerned about people up the back of me. And then we've got some roadworks here, and I'm switching lanes because I'm about to turn off. So I guess, but I just think we're pretty much invisible, even though I'm on a bright orange bike and I'm wearing a top that's got stripes and colours and white and all sorts. People still don't necessarily see you, and you got to make those decisions. You got to decide, right, am I being proactive here, am I being passive here, what? And this way I'd rather someone goes, oh, look at that idiot on a motorcycle just zipped across us, they're going to end up in an ambulance. But I had a moment to assess that situation just then, and I thought, you know what, I feel the choice of being proactive here and just getting on the roundabout and off the roundabout as quick as possible. I'm just going to be gone, out of their way, kind of thing. Just depends on the situation. Just depends on the situation, sir. Just depends on the situation, and you as a motorcycle rider, you got to assess that stuff. And they do over here on your test for your P's on your most. They do take you out into rush hour traffic, well, maybe not rush hour traffic, but they do take you out into daytime traffic, busy, heavy traffic with all the trucks and stuff on some roads that where you have to 80, and they just want to check that you are not going to be a danger, I guess, to yourself and others, and that you can handle that traffic. Bro! Taxi. Just need a few to do a little bit of maintenance yourself. Whew. Man, I love that feeling of riding a motorcycle. So good. Let's give this guy a nod. Doubling up. It wasn't until I was looking at the footage later, a while later, that I realised that I actually kicked one of the... But yeah, you want to enjoy your riding so you get out more and that it's a positive thing for you. Oh yeah, sick. Just even recently, I went in to another servo, the one on this loop, and you know, I fuel up there most times because it's convenient, because it's on the way back, it's the middle of the ride, that kind of thing. And this old boy's like wandering into the spot that I'm about to pull up in, and that's okay, he's got the right to do it, I guess. And then he's like looking at me like, what are you doing, boy? And it's like, what? And he's putting a watering can back, and I say, oh sorry bro, like I didn't mean to cut you up or whatever. And then his passenger in the car's looking at me like I'm a hoot, and then he totters off, I guess, to go pay for his fuel. And that kind of threw me a bit, and then I walked in, there was no one behind the till, no one behind the counter, and I was like, what is going on? And then I clocked that the person was stocking the chocolates right in front of me, and I was a bit like, okay. So I kind of made a bit of a rustling noise, or coughed or whatever, made a bit more noise. Oh yeah, be with you in a minute, just busy chatting to old mate here, and stocking the chocolates. So I just kind of chill, like, okay. And eventually they decide that they were going to go back round and I could pay, and I did. And that kind of all threw me a bit, and then I get back to the bike, and as I was throwing my leg over to get on, I clicked something, made a bit of a noise, and I was like, oh, probably kicked the bowser or whatever. And it wasn't until I was looking at the footage later, a while later, that I realised that I actually kicked one of the I don't even know what to call it. The hoses, the gun, whatever, petrol pump, nozzle thing, out of its holder, and it was on the floor, but I didn't even notice, and I was so like embarrassed and nervous or whatever that I just wanted to get the hell out of there, that I didn't even look back and check if something had happened. Obviously if I'd known, I would have then got off and put it back on. I've got to fuel up the bike or cars or whatever in the past, and I've noticed that the gun or whatever it's called is on the floor, and I picked it up and put it back on, so hopefully someone did that pretty soon after that. But you get nervous, and it happens, and it will happen probably. I know some people say that you shouldn't be watching videos, or you should just know how to ride a bike. Well, I just think that's unrealistic for the average person. Maybe there are super people out there who are just gifted, and they fly out of the womb straight onto a dirt bike or a racing bike or whatever it is, Harley Davidson, and they're just doing wheelies down the driveway. It's 0 years old. I don't know. Anyway. Ramble. But you want to enjoy yourself. I think I said this in another video pretty much at this point on the ride. You know, I think it was the which bike to choose as a beginner, that video. And it's just, you've got to enjoy yourself. Like, you want to enjoy riding, and that's a massive part of it. If you don't enjoy it, despite the nerves and the anxiety and all that stuff, because you do have to just try and come to terms with that. And when I say get over it, I don't just mean get over it, bro. I mean, like, you know, today I had nerves before the ride. I was looking at all the weather warnings, and biblical rain is coming. It's going to be, you know, 70 mil in an hour, and it's going to be flooding and all this kind of stuff. And I wanted to get out for a ride because I didn't think I was going to be able today, because I had stuff booked in, and then someone cancelled on me, and I was like, well, okay, cool, I'm going to take that opportunity while the sun's shining. But look at it, it's rolling in from the north, and it is going to hit soon. But okay, I had those nerves of pre-ride nerves or jitters or whatever, and I don't think that's a bad thing. They weren't, you know, I think some of that's healthy, like I said before. Anyway, you've got to enjoy your riding so that you do it more, or you get a good feeling from doing it. You get that, you know, release of chemicals, endorphins and all the other ones that make you feel good. And you know, the more you ride, the more you're going to enjoy it. Maybe just, I enjoyed it from the first moment. I enjoyed my hours. I loved that course. I knew that something that I wanted to do for years, and I was finally starting out doing, I knew that I was loving it. So yeah, but you want to stay safe, you want to ride smart, all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, you want to enjoy your riding so you get out more, and that it's a positive thing for you. I don't know, or maybe you enjoy the opposite, and hey, if that's your thing, cool. But yeah, I have the luxury of being essentially a fair weather rider, because it's nice weather most of the time, fair weather. And yeah, on days like today, you do have like a massive weather event coming our way. But I've ridden in other conditions and I can do it. I just prefer not to do it, because I can just wait till the next day or a couple of days and ride when it's sunny and warm and that kind of thing, because that's how it is most of the time around here. And I give a nod to all those riders around the world who ride in maybe what would be considered less than ideal conditions, but they're probably better riders for it. They're, I would argue, most definitely better riders for it. And you know, you want to enjoy it. So if you enjoy riding in dry conditions, and you get a lot of those and you can, great. If you enjoy riding in wet conditions, you get a lot of that, great. And vice versa, if those conditions don't come along very often but you still enjoy it, that's good as well. So, oh, sick. So sick. I love those fighter jets. So cool. Normally come in twos, so fingers crossed you get buzzed. Oh yeah, sick. I'm gonna be lucky and get a 3. That'd be cool. I should probably focus on my riding. Number 3, they normally do 2s, but sometimes, just sometimes. I got buzzed right here once taking some customers to the dunes, and like this Irish guy lost his mind. He thought it was the best thing ever. It was so loud, like it was perfect timing, because you're at the end of the runway here, and it was like taking off with its afterburners. You can see all the plane spotters parked up over there. Man, it's sick living near an airbase. So cool. Anyway, I should probably focus on my riding. That's an impression of someone doing an impression of me. Like just there, I was off center to make myself more visible. I wasn't too close to the beamer in front to give me room either side to escape. I was checking my mirrors to make sure that the heavy load behind us, or it could be someone on their phone or whatever, because you don't want to get rear-ended. But that all comes with learning. That's, I would argue, comes down to off the bike learning and then doing on the bike practice of that. So all kind of good practice stuff to practice. Come on, you can do it, buddy. You can do it. Oh, we are chock-a-block here. Look at this. It's supposed to be buffering, but I can't really because I am in a car sandwich. Sorry, buddy.
Just a lot of sitting over this. Yeah, good price in Johnson's bakery price.
Where are they from?
They're from Newcastle. They've been around for about 30 years. So they know what they're doing. I like it.
I do believe that just spending on the time on the bike, I do believe spending time on the bike does you can see that extreme weather event is on the way. It's going to hit in a few hours, so figured had an appointment cancelled, so why not get out on the bike, shoot one of these videos before it gets biblical. Hey, how you going? Hope you're good. So this is part of the series of videos I'm doing about learning to ride a motorcycle for the first time, or maybe you're coming back to it, but basically a beginner guide to riding or getting into motorcycles, beginner's guide to learning how to ride a motorcycle. And I split that up into 3 parts. Thought they were some good key things to talk about. So that was where to practice, how to practice, and why you should practice. And done playlists for both of those, so you can find those in the description or on the channel. Feel free to comment, ask questions, let me know if I got stuff wrong, that kind of thing. Tell me a joke, whatever you want. So where to practice, covered that pretty extensively in those videos. Also covered how to practice as well in the second playlist, and they're also all grouped together in one big playlist as well. So we're now on to why practice. And also so at the start I said you've got the you had the didn't know that guy doing a time sync. Anyway, whew, it's hot. Got a bit of air on us. Cool us down some. Whew. That is. How you going?
Good, mate. It's gonna be hot, hot, fucking hot.
Get the kill switch up. Kill switch up. It's a good one. Ooh, nice bit of dog poo. We're gonna have to an inch in front of it. Maybe that'll do. Try not to step backwards into the dog poo. Okay, so first for me, I'm actually going to get off the bike in one of these videos, which is a first. Why isn't it starting? Well, there we go. Okay, so we're going to run through our procedure. I always try and reply to every comment, and I'm still a beginner as well, so it's tricky to ride and speak and remember everything, so I might miss something, but still letting it out slow, 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 still letting it out slow.